Hello and welcome everybody to today's video. Welcome to the Vee Academy. My name is Crumbrion, Professor Crumbrion, if you would. And today, we're going to be taking a look at a wonderful game that we played on Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. And be happy to get your reactions to it. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. If you want to follow me and watch games in real time, check me out on twitch.tv/Crumbrion. For now, let's go check out the game. Thanks for watching.
3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome back, YouTube. We're back yet again. We're here with some more post-rotation action here. Back with our Peri Pult List, our Dragapult, Blaziken, and today we're facing off against a post-rotation Dragapult list. And we had faced off against a pre-rotation in the previous video that we featured our Dragapult Blaziken list. Now we're facing off against what we're going to be seeing in the future here. In just over a week's time, we're going to be seeing the Dragapult setting up here in just a moment. So this Dragapult variant that we're going to be facing is using the Noctowl engine in their deck to allow them to search for things, as well as Meowth is included in their list too. So we know what to expect from that. Obviously unfair stamp, Crispin, lots of potential to turbo things out on their board. So we end up going first in this particular match, or we end up going second in this particular matchup. They end up going first. It is a Budew off here, as the post-rotation Dragapult matchups are so going to be. They end up with a pretty strong start here. They end up getting Buddy Poffin down. So we do see a Dusknoir in this list as well. So they do feature Noctowl. Noctowl, obviously there's the Hoot Hoot, and they're playing the Dusknoir version in this as well. So we've recently made some changes to our list a little bit to kind of streamline some things, test some things out a little bit. So this is the first game that we were actually playing without Psyduck. Main reason for that is, so in the previous rotation, so pre-rotation, having Psyduck in there, we had a lot of decks that utilized knocking themselves out to generate a board state. There's less so. A lot of those Pokemon ended up rotating, and so now there's less so. It's Dusknoir, I believe Magneton, are like the two that are still sticking around right now. So we're trying to see how the deck plays, because in Japan, most of the decks have foregone Psyduck in favor of just using Shaymin. So they end up getting Meowth on the opening turn here. The Ultra Ball for Meowth purposefully, grabbing a Lillie's Determination. We don't exactly have a great start for ourselves right now, so we have to Pokepad. We end up getting a Torchic down. We have a Dreepy down on the bench. A Drakloak in hand, knowing that we're going to get item locked, or a very good chance we're getting item locked here. Grab the Drakloak, have Fezandipiti in hand. Ultra Ball and Rare Candy, unfortunately, not going to be able to do much here. The Risky Ruins is in play by my opponent, so we're going to be taking 20 damage on Torchic. They have 20 damage on their Meowth, and so they have a little bit of stuff that they can play around with. So no Munkidoris on their side of the field, however. That is a very important piece here, so they cannot make use of that damage that's on their side of the field, but they do get the Dark Energy down attached to Hoot Hoot. Tells me that they do play Munkidori in this list, so they're going to use that to retreat into Budew for turn. So lots of interesting things that this Dragapult list can incorporate. So it does make for a very dynamic mirror match when you're playing into it. So we do end up getting the Itchy Pollen this turn. So we do fortunately have draw with a Drakloak, and we were fortunate enough to grab Dawn here as well. So we have a number of things we could grab here. We would like to get prioritizing a Munkidori into play as quickly as possible. Evolution for Torchic as well, and getting a little bit of pressure having a Dragapult in hand. So now we can start drawing cards with Drakloak. Unfortunately, getting 2 items off there we can't make use of at this particular moment in time. So we're just going to evolve to the Combusken, get it outside of any sort of Phantom Dive range here, and just hit with an Itchy Pollen here in return. So we don't know if my opponent is playing Rare Candy at this particular moment in time. We'll find out a little bit later if they do or not. So early game, we just kind of have to assume that Rare Candy is an option for this kind of deck. Usually stage 2 decks will have those kind of options. We obviously play Rare Candy in our list for the 2 stage 2s that we have. But we do see the Dusknoir there. We want to avoid having a Dusknoir just completely shatter our board right now. So we don't know what arsenal my opponent has. We don't know if they have Neo Upper. We don't know if they play Unfair Stamp, if they play Secret Box. We don't know at this point in time. So it's kind of just out there in the open, trying to wait out and see what my opponent is going to be doing here. So fortunately, my opponent's taking a little longer than normal to have a thought on this. They do end up putting Psychic Energy down on Dreepy this turn, which was interesting, but is because they're going to be using a Crispin. So they're going to go out into their deck, grab a Fire and a Psychic Energy here. Fire is going to go into their hand. Psychic is going to go onto the Drakloak. So again, knowing now, it's highly likely that they're just playing Unfair Stamp because they are playing the Crispin. Not really a need for Crispin in a deck that when you're using Neo Upper Energy. So that is kind of a little bit of a tip of the cap, a tip of the hat as to what they're going to be doing here. So we do draw another item here, unfortunately, but we do end up getting a Lillie's Determination off of this Recon Directive. So a little bit of a step. Now, I would not advise to put Dragapult down here because we do not have a draw after this Lillie's guaranteed, but Lillie's Determination is going to get us into Dreepies here. Now we do have to be a little bit prudent. We did get the Psychic Energy off of this. We have another Lillie's in hand, so we have back-to-back chaining full hand refreshes. We don't want to put the Dreepy down because they are threatening a Dragapult this turn. With the Risky Ruins, if we do put Dreepy down, that just guarantees that my opponent has a very easy two prize turn without having to have boss's orders. So we want to make sure that if they wanted to take a 2 prize turn this turn, they're going to have to work for it, right? They're going to have to do something a little bit uncouth here to kind of dig for that KO if they want it that badly. So item locking them here again. There's a number of things that my opponent could do. They have a pretty large hand, but much like our deck, they run a lot of items. So we don't know how many of those cards are items. We don't know if they're supporters. We do see a Dragapult come down on this turn here. So you do see the Fire Energy from their hand that they grabbed previously going on to that Dragapult. So now the question is my opponent going to break the item lock here, or are they just going to take the knockout on Budew? Advisably, it would probably be better to take the knockout on the Budew here and item lock me this turn. But they are just going to play boss's orders, so they have a number of Pokemon that they can choose from here. We're trying to nudge our opponent here, making actions. They're taking a considerable amount of time. There was already a 3-minute time difference very early into this game. And so big decision that they were trying to make here. They do boss up the Dragapult, and they're going to retreat here into Budew, into Dragapult, and they're going to Phantom Dive. And so the Phantom Dive here, again, going to take quite a bit of time to decide where these damage counters are going, but they have a number of options here. They don't necessarily want to give me hand draw here, so they're likely going to be avoiding taking out the Budew and cleaning up that Budew up later if they so choose to. And so again, this is taking a very long time, and so we're trying to nudge our opponent into taking an action, and they finally end up getting there. So goals for this turn we'd be looking at, because Shaymin's not really going to be super useful for us here. Goals for this turn, we would like to get a Blaziken in play. We would like to do a number of things. So we're just going to play the Lillie's Determination, get a fresh new 8 cards. We don't have Unfair Stamp active, unfortunately, but one of the pieces we did want was Blaziken. We do end up getting a Blaziken here. And one of the other things that we were looking at is hopefully getting a Fire Energy to attack with Dragapult. We unfortunately did not. What we're going to do is a bit of an uncouth play here. We're going to force our opponent to activate our Unfair Stamp. So we're going to remove 30 damage from the Munkidori, and that will get it outside of Phantom Dive range. And we're going to put pressure onto a different Pokemon here. We have debated on what we're going to be taking here. If it would be better to put it on Duskull, force him to have to evolve into Dusclops, and then either use Dusclops, or we can just start taking putting pressure on the field by taking prizes. And so we do end up just taking out the Budew, removing the item lock from their side of the field. We do have the Seething Spirit to go ahead and put that Psychic Energy right back on Dragapult, so we can have that attack if we wanted to. So that's there available for us anytime if we want to hold that as well. So we're going to Itchy Pollen. The purpose of this Itchy Pollen this turn, because we didn't get the Phantom Dive turn that we would have hoped to get on this turn. Number one, we want our opponent to either burn another resource like Boss's Orders, which are very low counts in the post-rotation Dragapult lists. So if we can get them to burn another Boss's Orders here, be very beneficial to us. But number two, it activates our Unfair Stamp, which brings their hand down to a size of 2. And number 3, it restricts their ability to use items. So no rare candy, Dusknoir, no rare candy, Dragapult. So that Dreepy may be sitting there, that Duskull may be sitting there, and because they can't tutor, they can't use their Pokepads, they can't Ultra Ball, there is no Noctowl coming down very easily here. So they're going to have to play honestly, and so they're going to go ahead and Phantom Dive, playing right into the trap that we are setting for them. So they're hoping that they can go ahead and grab a Noctowl next turn and have the Terra Dragapult out there in order to search out that rare candy Dusknoir play and take out that Dragapult immediately, and then go for something like a Fezandipiti, boss up Fez, rare candy Dusknoir onto our Dragapult. We're going to put a little stick in that a little bit here. So we have a few different options. The top deck Crispin here obviously was the best potential top deck that we could get. So we're going to be able to have a Phantom Dive immediately in return here. And we're also going to be able to use, utilize the Seething Spirit to get more energy back on the field as well. So we're just going to go ahead and hit the Unfair Stamp here. Because we're able to do so. So first thing we're going to do though is we're going to grab Buddy Poffin. So this is an interesting spot right here. I was doing some thinking about this afterwards. I think the optimal play here was to put down 2 Dreepy, because if my opponent did end up getting a Dusclops off of these 2 cards, we could have had a very bad situation for us coming up. We could have been able to, our opponent could have been able to take out both Dragapult and Dreepy. We are protecting the Dreepy by removing the damage here. We're really banking on the fact that my opponent is not able to get a Dusclops out in those 2 cards. We're going to be removing the Hoot Hoot from play because we are going to be swinging into that with Phantom Dive. So we're kind of taking a big risk here. We could have alleviated that risk a tiny bit by putting down 2 Dreepy, having 1 Dreepy with 20 damage, take the damage off the other Dreepy, and then my opponent would have to choose to go into the Munkidori or try and go for a 4 prize turn and then leave one of the Dreepies alive. So we do have a rare candy, we do have a Dragapult, we do have an energy in hand. So we have a swing back here that and now we have a fire energy in hand as well. So now we do end up having a swing back here that is able to decimate their board and remove the Dusknoir threat should they whiff an evolution here. It's very important. So the Dreepy going on the bench here, Risky Ruins putting 20 damage onto Dreepy. With the absence of Hawlucha, Risky Ruins is stepping in where Hawlucha once was, and it does do some very heavy lifting for the list. So with no other cards that they can play, 2 cards off of that Unfair Stamp, not able to do anything. They're just going to Phantom Dive and take a knockout on our Dragapult. So we have information that they don't have. We know that we have rare candy Dragapult in hand. We know we have fire energy in hand. And they obviously know that we have a Seething Spirit to grab those energies from the discard pile. So now we're able to make a really huge impact on this game, completely swinging the momentum of this game around entirely now. So because we've been careful with our bench, we don't have a lot of liability sitting on the bench. Obviously, Fezandipiti having 10 damage on it does make this a little bit more dicey. So we have to be careful about that, but we're going to do everything we can here. We're going to attach the Psychic Energy using Seething Spirit. Blaziken obviously very strong because of this, allowing us to have that energy turbo that Pult did not have previously or was not playing with previously. We're going to be thinning our deck here as much as we can now. So we're going to be Ultra Balling a couple of times. We're going to be using the Pokepads a couple of times here because there is one other thing that we have to be very wary of. If they have Boss's Orders and they're still playing Blood Moon or Saluna, they could easily boss up Fezandipiti, 0 energy, knockout for game. So we have to prepare ourselves for this. And we have 1 special stadium in the deck that's left. We have a few chances to get it, and we end up drawing it here, the Watchtower. is going to protect us against a Blood Moon Ursaluna. Should they draw into that or have that as an option, we don't know for sure. So we won't know unless they try and go for it. So we're going to swing into the Dragapult, swing into the Dreepy with energy on it. That is 4 big energy off of their board. They have no way, like we have a way of getting energy back on with the Blaziken. They have no way outside of using Crispin to get that set up. So we're going to see here exactly what bullet that we dodged, and we'll see if this is the final impact here. We have boss's orders in hand. We have lots of different things that we could do. So what does our opponent do on this turn here? A very critical turn, obviously. So they have rare candy. If they're playing Neo Upper Energy, we're not sure. If they have Neo Upper Energy and boss, it is just game over. So we're going to see the Dusclops go down. This is an evolution to avoid a Phantom Dive cleaning up this game here. So if we were to attack into Dragapult, Phantom Dive onto the bench Duskull, that would just be 60 damage. That would be a knockout. That would be game. So there's no risky ruins. Safely is going to put the Dreepy down to thin the deck out here. Lillie's Determination is going to give him 6 brand new cards. You're going to see a whole bunch. So we avoided the Lillie's Determination, getting a Blood Moon Ursaluna. Not that that would have really changed anything, because Countercatcher doesn't exist in this format anymore. The huge detriment to Pult now. They cannot do that as much anymore. Pokepad gonna go out and grab the Dusknoir. He thinks if we are able to swing into Dragapult this turn, maybe they have a chance to go and get a Crispin next turn. Maybe they have one last chance, but this is going to seal the fate for my opponent here. They don't have hand disruption. They didn't get rid of our boss's orders. We just have boss's orders in hand. We're not going to be shy about this. We're just going to go ahead and boss up Meowth, do 200 damage. It could have been any Pokemon on the bench. 200 damage is just a straight knockout here. And that is the power of Blaziken. This is why this card is such a phenomenal play in Dragapult, and I've been very much enjoying it. I've been testing this out for a number of weeks. Pre-rotation, I've had this deck rolling for a number of weeks. Even without Psyduck, we're not even threatened in this matchup at any point in time. I was thinking about it. You can take away, like, if you take away the Psyduck, yes, there is the threat for the Dusknoir, but if they're using Dusknoir, they're giving you prizes. And they have to choose between either the Blaziken or the Dragapult. You can get your board state set up enough to a point where you are so resistant to them knocking out one of your Dragapults or one of your Blazikens that it doesn't really affect your board. It's such a strong potential. Blaziken allows for that. Aggressively discarding energies, getting your Blaziken out first, helps you establish that strength of board. Getting the Crispin out early, getting that energy out early, all of that contributes to the late game, the strength of the late game. If you can get one Blaziken out, if you get 2 Blaziken out, it is so much stronger. It is so much better. I personally have been in love with this list. I believe in post-rotation, so pre-rotation, we've included the non-rule box Blaziken in the list. I believe that may come out in post-rotation because Crustle is not using, Crustle doesn't have that extra HP anymore. It loses the luxurious capes. So it's easier to reach with a, when you're attacking with Combusken. So it might, and so maybe Crustle falls off a bit. That's the only threat. That was the only threat to pre-rotation, was using Crustle Luxurious Cape. The only thing that could attack it was the non-rule box Blaziken. Now that that cape is gone, much more easily reachable, much more less of a threat to our board. So keep checking in here. We're going to be having updated lists to this regularly. I'm be playing this. This is my pet deck. I'm going to be playing it quite a bit. So if you've enjoyed this deck, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let us know what you've been playing. Let us know if you've been playing this list and if you've been enjoying it. I'm curious to see what take you've had on this as well and how you've been doing with it. All right, folks, thank you so much, and we will see you in the next video.